This video is going to be a bit different, mainly because it's actually two things. Firstly, I've not written anything for this video. I usually write a script, I'm not doing that. And secondly, I'm actually going to talk about some books. Seriously, talk about them. I mean, usually my videos, which I call reviews, as the Angry Librarian, they usually go off on a tangent and it's not actually a review, that's the whole gimmick. But today, I want to talk about the differences between good non-fiction and bad non-fiction. Now, I have to admit, I don't often read that much non-fiction. It's not that I don't want to. I've seen quite a lot of books at work and a lot of books in shops that I really think would be worth a shot. Same with some biographies. But whenever I get to choosing my next book, more often than not, I've got a bigger list of tempting fiction books I want to get to. But I have read some recently, and one of them I fucking loved. And one of them I've struggled to get through. And the one I loved, several times bigger than the one I hated. So let's get into it. The first one I want to talk about is this one here, which is Area 51 by Annie Jacobsen. Now, this was fantastic. I read this so quickly, and have you ever read one of those books where as soon as you finished it, everyone you meet who you know even vaguely likes reading, you try and sell them the book? I must have driven my co-workers crazy trying to get them all to read this, and I'm pretty sure none of them did, but they sat there and tolerated me, having a little librarian orgasm over this book. I mean, don't worry, it's white clean, it's got a little cover on it, don't worry, no one will ever know. Oh, did I just say that? Oh, for God's sake. Now the thing is, this book, when I picked it up, I thought, oh, it's just going to be all about aliens and it's all going to be hearsay. But actually, it's a very detailed history, basically the birth of Area 51, and about all the different organisations that have ran it. And it's the first time that a lot of information has been declassified by the American government. So a lot of this was like new knowledge. And I've read one or two other books before about Area 51, and I've seen some documentaries and things on like the History Channel years ago. But it's kind of a guilty pleasure, really, aliens and ghosts and shit like that. Like I say, it went into the history of how it was set up, all the people involved in it. It's full of interview after interview of people that worked there. And it does touch on aliens for a little bit, but it kind of touches on it in a way that the government had plans where they wanted people to believe certain things were aliens because it was a good way to discredit that things were happening there when it clearly wasn't, There's whole bits in here about them having the first jet-powered aircraft, and pilots who were flying around would see people in these things and they'd be like, there's no propellers, how the hell is that flying? So they would actually wear gorilla masks. So then the people would say in the pub, oh my god, I saw this monkey driving a plane. And then people would be like, yeah, a monkey was driving a plane. One, you don't drive a plane, you fly it. Don't be stupid. And two, why would the monkey be doing that? It's a massive detailed documentation about nuclear weapons, and it mentions lightly the whole Operation Paperclip about Nazi scientists. There is a whole other book by Annie Jacobsen which is done all about Operation Paperclip, and after reading this one I really want to read that one, and I'm pretty sure that my work has it, so I'm going to get onto that soon hopefully. But it's so good. This is such a good read. I learnt so much, and some of it actually is still in my head, and some of it is quite scary. Not in the sense that alien technology, it's more scary in the sense that what the government allowed to happen and what they've only just admitted they did, especially stuff involving the size of some of the nuclear bombs they were testing on mainland America. Then we come to the bad non-fiction, and this is The Demonologist, and it was by Gerald Daniel Brittle, who I believe was an ex-reverend or an ex-priest, a Catholic priest I think. But basically, I love horror films. I am mad for horror. And I recently watched The Conjuring and Conjuring 2, and I think they're fantastic. And I've always liked the amateur for horror films, and even though they're cheesy, I like them, it's what I'm into. But this is basically an account of the career of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are the paranormal investigators, and they were the ones that were there during the Conjuring ones and during the Amityville Horror. And I thought, this would be really interesting. After I watched the film, I thought, is there any books on it? And the next day, someone actually brought this one back. Spooky. I picked it up and I've tried it. And this is shit. Oh my god, it is so bad. It's only just over 200 pages and I struggled to get through this. It took me over a week to get through that, and I usually read relatively fast. And I talked about this one as well afterwards, but it was complete opposite about Area 51. This was me warning people to stay away from this shit. Now it's the important thing. What made this one good and this one bad? Well, obviously the first thing is writing styles. People write differently. Annie Jacobson is a professional reporter. I think she works for like the New York Times, something like that. She's won awards. She's very detailed. She has a very flowing narrative. I mean, it doesn't read like a story. It reads like an essay, and it works. It's detailed. You trust what you're reading to be fact. This one, it reads like something the guy wrote over his supper. He was bored one night and he sat down at a typewriter and he decided to bash out a few words. It doesn't flow. It doesn't feel professional at all. This guy is obsessed with the exclamation mark. He pretty much thinks that is the only form of punctuation there is. No one's shouting. It's not an exclamation. It's not a declaration. It's just, and then they went inside the house. It's like, why would you shout that bit? They went inside the house. And it's usually bits like that you think, oh, okay, the editor missed it, he skipped that bit. Don't worry about it. But just read 1 or 2 pages of this and it's non-stop, it's everywhere. Along with the fact that every other sentence says something like, the Warrens did this, Ed said this, Ed said that. Lorraine asked this, Lorraine said that. That's all this book is. Ed and Lorraine did and said this. I mean, this guy worshipped them, and that takes away any credibility and any fact to it, because it's just hero worship. He's literally just saying, Ed woke up one morning and the sun shone out of his arse and the rain basked in it and he made all of her wrinkles disappear. Another thing is that a massive chunk of this book is dedicated to citing sources. You know, it's got a huge bit at the back about who everyone was, where they got their facts from, what papers or the information has been declassified in. This one, nothing. Ed says that he saw a demon, he saw a demon. Ed says that exorcisms happen, they happen. There is one part in here where he literally he's asked in an interview, how do you know the difference between demonic possession and a regular haunting? And he basically responds, I know. So, how do you know it's a demon? I just know. That's it. But the thing is, anything in this book is taken with a pinch of salt. You know, Jacobson writes down what she's been told by other people and delves into what she thinks now and then, but it leaves it up to you, and then you can go away and look at the sources in the back and do you think it's credible or not. Some things in this are clearly not credible, but then they state that. It says that, you know, oh, this was never confirmed, this was never, you know, substantiated or backed up by anything else. It's just something one person said, there it is, move along. But this one, he just says things and that's fact. God exists, fact. Demons exist, fact. He talks about all the horrific things that happen. And it makes modern horror films look really mediocre and light-hearted. I mean, whole rooms being trashed, stones being pelted at a house. He says that police witness all these things and that there are everyone around and dozens of people see it, and these things are happening every other day. Where are all the pictures? Where's all this evidence of your career if this was happening on a daily basis? I mean, he talks about how his house is invaded by evil spirits and things are torn apart, and there's this whole bit where he talks about his car being chased by a ghost car and that it would drive right into them several times, and then they'd go home, and days before they would receive a call to go to one of their most famous cases, they would be terrorised constantly by demons and black whirlwinds that would attack their house. But they never filmed it, they never photographed it. There's a few photographs in here that are in black and white and they show fuck all. It's like, here is something floating, and it could easily be that someone's thrown a paint can in the air and they snapped a photo of it. It got me so angry. Fiction books are where all made-up stuff go. That's fine. Non-fiction is supposed to be factual. It's referenced. And yes, not everything that is in the non-fiction category can be substantiated. I mean, the Bible is classed as non-fiction. The Quran is classed as non-fiction because it's not supposed to be made up. It's believed to be real. So you have to give it some leeway. Okay, there are people who will believe every word of this. There are people who will believe some of it and not all of it. I'm a skeptic when it comes to ghosts and paranormal stuff. And that's why I said it's a guilty pleasure. It really is. I'm embarrassed that people saw me reading this. I'm embarrassed when I watch things like Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. I don't even watch them in front of my partner because, you know, I know that he will just make fun of me. But I don't actually fully believe in stuff. I watch them because I want to be entertained, for one thing. And two, I'm curious. I want to know, is there something out there? I mean, I'm a skeptic, but the minute I saw something that I thought, that's believable, that's credible, okay, I might change my mind. This book did nothing but make me not believe anything, even the more subtle things in here, you know. I'm a huge believer in the things like Amityville Horror, the Lutz family, something had to have happened for them to leave the house the way they did in the middle of the night, leaving everything there. They were genuinely terrified, and they do touch on this in here. He talks about when they first meet them, and that they won't even go into the house with them. He gives them the keys. They give Warren the keys, and they have to go in there because they're staying somewhere else. And there's real fear there. In that bit, you kind of accept, well, yeah, okay, I can totally accept that. But then you turn around and talk about, blood flying out of walls, and all windows exploding, and children flying up into the air, and things like that. And that takes away the credibility of the things that you were kind of believing beforehand. I don't know if it's down to just the fact that the guy who wrote it just knows them and is their friend and worships them and isn't a writer. But you compare it to Annie Jacobson, who is a proper professional reporter and writer and has run the wars, and she's highly acclaimed. Comparing them, it just knocks it out of the park, Yeah, I just did that, trying to be a little theatrical. Okay, I'm comparing two books on things that maybe a lot of people say, well, they're not really good material for non-fiction. You should be comparing historic books. You should be comparing true crime books. You should be comparing, cookery books and biographies. But you could take several of any of that category and they will be bad, or they will be good. It's the same with fiction, and I just thought I wanted to highlight two books that I felt really passionately about. One really good, one really bad. Usually I read a book, and if it's good I let someone know, but as I say, these two were recent and I just had to talk about them. And I don't know if I'm going to do more books like this because I've just rambled forever. It feels like I've been talking for like 50 minutes. I bet I've only done like maybe 5 or 6. And I probably made no sense. And when I edit this back, I'm going to see that I make no sense and I'm not actually talking about anything. I'm probably just staring at the camera like a rabbit caught in the headlights of a car. Have you read any non-fiction that you thought was fantastic and you thought was crap? Let me know, and I'll make sure to get back to you with what I think. Or if you've got any suggestions, let me know. But thanks for watching.